This is Lynn Blomstrand-Maratska at Gamo Gordon Museum in Scandia, Minnesota. Welcome to Storytime, and our reader today is Pastor Hannah from Christ Lutheran Church in Marine, a longtime friend of mine, and she's going to introduce you to the Noisy Village children's books. Thanks for listening.
My name is Lisa, and the place where I live is called Noisy Village. There are only 3 farms there, and only 6 children. Britta and Anna live at the North Farm, Carl and Bill and I live at Middle Farm, and Olaf lives at South Farm. Oh, and there's Kirsten, Olaf's little sister. How could I forget her? Olaf thinks Kirsten is the most wonderful thing in all Noisy Village, though it's hard work looking after her, he always says. Britta and Anna and I help him with her sometimes. You need almost a whole school class to look after that little rascal, Anna says. We have lots of fun when spring comes to Noisy Village, and it's very beautiful then. Snowdrops and crocuses and tulips are in bloom in the gardens, and thousands of millions of white and blue windflowers grow in the fields. Picking flowers is something Kirsten likes, but her mother has told her she must only pick wildflowers and not the ones growing on the lawn. One day last spring I saw Kirsten walking through the garden. She had picked nearly all her mother's narcissus. So I shouted to her, "Stop that! You know you mustn't pick those." "But they are wild," said Kirsten. "They are awfully wild." Kirsten said awfully instead of awfully. Britta and Anna and I have built a playhouse in the clearing. That's something you have to do in the spring. We have a box for a table and stools to sit on. We have another box for a cupboard, and in the cupboard are my doll's dishes. One day, we invited Kirsten to a party and gave her fruit juice to drink and buns to eat. She liked that. She likes animals, too. While we were sitting there drinking juice, she saw a little hedgehog in the grass. Kirsten wanted to pat it. "No, don't! It pricks," said Britta. But Kirsten still wanted to pat it, and she did, too. Then she cried, and she was terribly angry with us, as if it was our fault hedgehogs have prickly spines. There are wet places everywhere in the spring. Sometimes when we're going home from school, the road is a river of slippery mud. Our rubber boots go splash, splash through the mud, and we walk into the biggest puddles we can find. Sometimes the boys walk in the ditch too, and they get their boots full of water. Sometimes we walk along the top of the fence. One day a woman saw us and thought we were walking up there to dry our feet. She didn't know we were doing it just for fun. "Who said we must only walk on the road?" Carl asked afterward. "Some grown-up, I suppose," said Bill. And that's what I think too. We have lots of animals here in Noisy Village. Horses and cows and pigs and sheep and hens and cats. And Olaf has a dog called Skip. When spring comes, calves and piglets and lambs and chickens are born all over Noisy Village, and sometimes a foal too. Every morning we go out to see if any new animal has come in the night. One morning this spring, something wonderful happened. Daddy gave me a little lamb for my very own. It had no mother, so I was to be its mother instead. "You must feed it from a bottle," said Daddy, just as if it were a baby. I called my lamb Pontus. "If you get tired of feeding him, I'll help you," said Anna. But I only said, as if I could ever get tired of feeding a little lamb. I didn't know then that lambs are nearly always hungry. Sometimes when I'm warming milk for Pontus, he comes trotting into the kitchen to see whether his bottle is ready. Our kitten doesn't like that. He thinks lambs shouldn't be allowed in kitchens. Afterward, when Daddy had helped us with Ulrich and Pontus had been fed, Bill said to Carl, "You're not very brave, Carl." "I am so," replied Carl. Then the boys began talking about who was the bravest. "I dare to jump down from the woodshed roof," called Carl. "Me too," said Bill. "So do I," said Olaf. And one by one, all of them jumped down from the roof of the woodshed. Uh-oh. Then Carl said, "I dare to ride on the bull." Our bull is the gentlest bull in the world. He was tethered to the fence, and he didn't even blink when Carl climbed on his back. He didn't move either, so it wasn't much of a ride. Bill laughed and said, I dare to do that too. So do I, said Olaf. Carl said, we are all pretty brave, aren't we? After that, we played hide and go seek with Skip. He's a very clever dog, and he can always find us no matter how well we're hidden. And when he finds someone, he barks with all his might. Kristen played hide and go seek too. She stood a couple yards away from Skip and covered her eyes with her hands. She thought Skip couldn't see her, but Skip didn't understand that Kristen was playing, so he didn't look at her at all. After that, it began to get dark, and Daddy came and set fire to a heap of dead leaves we had raked together. We'll have a little spring fire, he said. Hurrah, we all shouted. Fires out of doors are always beautiful, and most beautiful at twilight. We danced and jumped around ours, pretending we were Indians and shouting and shrieking so that all Noisy Village could hear us. But Kirsten just stood watching, and Daddy said, have you all run wild, children? Yes, they are awfully wild, says Kirsten. But I think all children are wild in the spring. All of us, children, in Noisy Village certainly are. The end.